They laughed at utility coins. They mocked the patient ones. But here we are, 2025, and everything is snapping into place, quietly, systematically, and right under the noses of retail investors still chasing the next meme coin. But XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC, they're not riding hype. They're building the infrastructure of the new financial order, from real-time settlement systems to tokenized assets, central bank integration, and interoperable ledgers that power the $100 trillion plus global financial plumbing. The crypto market is finally shifting, from speculation to utility, from hype to integration, from noise to silent accumulation, and the assets that solve trillion-dollar problems are now entering their reward phase. This video breaks down exactly why XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC are aligned for explosive upside, and how the quiet groundwork they've laid is about to make their holders very, very rich. Before we break it down, make sure you're subscribed to Be Crypto Smart if you're serious about real wealth in this next wave. No fluff, no hype, just deep insights into utility assets like these. Now let's dive in. We saw Bitcoin go from a cypherpunk dream to a digital gold narrative. Ethereum became a launchpad for ICOs, then DeFi, then NFTs, then L2S stacking on top of L2S. And meme coins? They turned millionaires into bag holders faster than you can say, Doge to $1. But all that noise, it masked the signal. Now the adults are entering the room. Governments, central banks, multinational corporations, interbank networks, payment giants. And guess what? They're not building on chains that lag, break, or moon off memes. They need systems that work, systems that scale, systems that comply. They're not betting. They're integrating, and they're doing it quietly, while the rest of crypto is still addicted to dopamine-fueled pump-and-dump narratives. Just look at the invisible headlines.
Don't forget to support the video with a like, because it supports us a lot and helps us reach other people and help them learn important information.
The World Bank's blockchain bond issuances are expected to top $1 trillion by end of 2025. The BIS and IMF are backing interoperable CBDC networks, with direct pilots involving Ripple and Stellar. Over 130 countries are now in CBDC development, testing how central bank money moves across borders, without SWIFT, without delays. SWIFT itself is testing tokenized assets and DLT messaging. This is SWIFT, the bedrock of the old system, testing the new rails they know will replace them. HSBC, BlackRock, JP Morgan, Citi, all now have internal tokenization pilots. Not on Ethereum, not on Solana, but on custom permission networks, often linked to HBAR or XDC compatible infrastructure. These aren't maybes. These aren't vaporware testnets. They're live integrations of distributed ledger tech into the most powerful financial institutions on Earth. But here's the key detail. Not a single one of these players is building on a meme coin. They're not using yield farms. They're not experimenting on chains run by anonymous founders with community-led governance chaos. They're using assets and networks that were designed for one job: powering global finance. And that's where XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC come in, not as speculative tokens, but as protocols for financial plumbing. Let's talk real use case alignment. XRP was built from day one to act as a bridge asset for real-time gross settlement. It's the base layer for value transfer between currencies, banks, and now, tokenized fiat. XLM was created to serve the underbanked and developing markets, and now it's morphing into a programmable dollar rail for stablecoin payments, aid disbursement, and real-time FX conversions. HBAR is engineered for enterprise-grade use, not just fast transactions, but regulated, deterministic consensus for governments, megacore, and tokenization of RWA, real-world assets. XDC targets the least digitized part of finance: trade documentation and finance. Think letters of credit, shipping manifests, bills of lading, invoices. XDC is replacing that archaic paper-based system with smart contracts that settle trillions globally, with real banks and trade organizations already on board. So while the rest of the market is asking, What's going to 10x next week? The smart money is asking. Which networks are being embedded into the future of finance? And the answer isn't Ethereum. It isn't Polygon. It isn't Solana or Avalanche. It's the quiet giants. The 4 assets that solve problems no one else wants to touch: settlement, compliance, interoperability, tokenized documentation, cross-border liquidity, real-world deployment, infrastructure, not hype. And this isn't theory anymore. The pipes are being laid. The corridors are going live. Stablecoins are moving across borders. Trade documents are being tokenized and financed. Smart contracts are replacing banks' back offices. And these 4 assets are the heartbeat of that silent revolution. So let's make it clear. Bitcoin gave us decentralization. Ethereum gave us programmability. But XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC? They're giving us institutional-grade financial rails that replace the clunky, bloated, permissioned middlemen of the last century. This isn't a bet on price. It's a bet on function, integration, infrastructure, and every chart, every metric, and every government pilot is confirming the same thing. We're in the final stages of a global financial reset. Those holding the infrastructure coins when the switch flips, they won't be watching the explosion. They'll be holding the fuse. XRP, the global liquidity shockwave. XRP isn't a coin. It's liquidity infrastructure. Everyone remembers the SEC lawsuit, the FUD, the delisting. But what they missed was Ripple using that time to build quietly with central banks, regulators, and financial institutions across the world. And now, that foundation is fully operational. Ripple's robust stablecoin is officially launching, tied directly into XRP Ledger, designed to bridge fiat, digital assets, and CBDCs. Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road, a $1.25 billion prime broker, is XRP's final link into institutional finance, letting hedge funds, banks, and corporates access on-demand liquidity across currencies and geographies. The XRPL AMM upgrade now allows decentralized liquidity provisioning, enabling stablecoin pools, forex-like swaps, and yield, all settled in XRP. But the biggest signal? The Federal Reserve and BIS are now openly exploring interoperable settlement networks, and Ripple is involved in Project Dunbar, Project Mariana, and various CBDC pilots globally. XRP is becoming the liquidity layer for central bank money, bridging tokenized dollars, euros, and even real-time derivatives. While meme coins chase TikTok trends, XRP is being wired into the base layer of the next global monetary system, quietly, permanently. And those holding now? You're early to monetary infrastructure, not just a coin. XLM, the DEFI rails for the world's unbanked. XLM is solving a $10 trillion problem no one talks about: financial exclusion. Here's the truth. Nearly 2 billion people worldwide are unbanked, but they all have smartphones. What they don't have is access to a dollar account, fast remittances, or stable financial tools. That's where Stellar and XLM shine. The launch of Soar smart contracts changed the game, turning Stellar into a real DeFi layer without losing its speed or cost advantage. And now it's being used in ways Ethereum simply can't compete with. Palago Labs is building a DeFi credit market for African and Southeast Asian trade routes, financing real goods, not JPEGs. MoneyGram's Stellar integration allows users in over 180 countries to convert XLM to cash and USDC instantly at local stores. The Stellar Development Foundation is working directly with the UN, Circle, and NGOs to deploy programmable aid in real time using XLM. XLM is fast becoming the programmable stablecoin layer for developing markets. And with over $150 million in daily volume surging recently, something's brewing. The silent giants, IMF, World Bank, NGOs, fintechs are building on XLM, not talking about it. When these corridors go live at scale, and Stellar becomes the on-off ramp for real-world utility, that's when price catches up to function. And by then, it'll be too late to get in early. HBAR, the Enterprise Consensus Network. HBAR is the bet on enterprise adoption. And that bet is maturing fast. Built on Hashgraph, not blockchain, BAR's network provides ABFT consensus, used by Google, IBM, Boeing, Dell, LG, Ubisoft, and now dozens more through the HBAR Governing Council. But the real story is in tokenization, because HBAR is powering the back end for asset issuance at scale. The HSBC GMX pilot on HBAR now processes tokenized gold and treasuries. The U.S. state of California is testing carbon credit markets via HBAR's registry. BlackRock and Aberdeen are reportedly eyeing tokenized asset rails, and HBAR is among the contenders. The Dovu protocol is rolling out green financing using HBAR's consensus to audit carbon offsets. And BAR's ecosystem just flipped a switch, moving from infrastructure building to application onboarding. Wallets, DEXs, bridges, staking, DAOs. They're finally here. But here's what makes HBAR elite: governance. With real corporations running the nodes, HBAR isn't fighting regulators. It's being invited to build the next-generation financial rails. Price will follow usage, and that usage is going institutional. XDC, the dark horse of trade finance. XDC is solving the least sexy, most valuable problem in crypto: trade finance. We're talking about $20 trillion in annual global trade. Most of it still runs on paper. Swift messages, fax documents, delayed payments. XDC and the TradeFinex network are tokenizing all of it. Real-time invoices, bills of lading, smart contracts for delivery and payment, asset-backed lending, institutional liquidity pools tied to trade documents. And while retail chases charts, XDC is being quietly adopted by ITFA, International Trade and Forfeiting Association, TradeLens, CargoX, and Ledgers, central banks across MENA and Asia for digitizing import-export flows. XDC also uses a hybrid chain architecture, letting banks keep sensitive data private while still transacting via public consensus. That means it checks every box: fast, cheap, private when needed, compliant with ISO 20022, built for regulated institutions. XDC isn't building an app. It's replacing Swift for trade. And when that switch flips, just like Ethereum exploded after DeFi summer, XDC will explode off enterprise settlement volume. Not hype. This is what early looks like. The market is starting to wake up. But the wealth is still concentrated in the hands of those who understand what's being built, not what's trending. XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC don't exist to be traded. They exist to replace the back end of the $100 trillion plus global financial system. And they're being adopted by banks, corporations, central banks, and real economies. If you're holding these four assets, you're not betting on coins. You're betting on financial infrastructure that's already being wired into the global machine. And when the world finally realizes what's happening, you won't be buying, you'll already be holding. And that's how real wealth is made. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart for real insights on where the money is flowing, not just where the noise is. This next wave belongs to utility, and you're already in the right place.